Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and I have a really cool guitar player, great country player, but he's a really good player. I mean, I'm a blues guy, and I've seen Andrew Sovine play a lot of blues stuff, and he's a phenomenal player. And he's also got by far the best beard of anybody I've interviewed so far, man. So congratulations on that. We're here today with Andrew Sovine, who was born in Nashville into a musical family. His grandfather was actually Red Sovine, who released close to 30 country albums between 1956 and 1978. And during that time, Red had 3 #1 U.S. country singles and another 5 singles in the top 20. Andrew started playing guitar when he was 4 years old. Soon he was playing in the family band and constantly asking his uncle to show him how to play Beatles songs. He quickly began attempting to play every instrument he could get his hands on, eventually adding banjo, mandolin, trumpet, lap steel, and dobro, and harmonica to his arsenal. In his teens, he began playing at church, coffee shops, and the downtown bars and honky-tonks in Nashville. Seeing players like Red Volkert, Brent Mason, and Kenny Vaughan up close at such a young age was both humbling and inspiring to him, and it was around this time he started touring. In 2005, he was invited to join Grammy-nominated 11-time ICM Vocal Group of the Year, the Fox Brothers, on tour. After touring for several years with the Foxes, he went on to play on the road and in the studio with such artists such as Big Kenny from Big and Rich, Winona Judd, Chase Rice, Don Gallardo, Cale Tyson, and Kelsey Walden. As of January 2017, he's working on the road and in the studio with Ashley McBryde as her lead guitarist, tour manager, and band leader, and we'll talk about these things. He also does a lot of session work, random shows, and solo projects as well. Andrew, man, I really appreciate your time, and thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks, Craig. It's good to be here, man.
Cool. For starters, congratulations, man. I had interviewed your bass player with actually Christian Sancho a while ago, and I'm in contact with him on Facebook, and I see that you guys, the tour seems to be going really, really well. So congrats to that, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Sancho just got in the band a few months ago, and we lost our bass player. We're not really sure where he went, but we've lost him. and so we had to find. I was asking around for some referrals, and one of my buddies, John Shaw. From Josh Turner's band. Uh-huh. We used to play on a gig together years ago, and he's one of the few people in Nashville that I trust with anything that I need to sub out. And so I asked him if he had any ideas, and John was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to give you one name," and that was the guy. So that was ended up being Sancho, and he's been a great fit. He's a good dude and good hang on the road, and But as far as the stuff we've been doing lately, has just been his first gig with us was in Chicago, and the entire time we were playing, Miranda Lambert was sitting side stage watching us.
Wow! So
that was weird. And then I think the next show we did after that was in a ski resort in Avon, Colorado, on the 4th of July, and it was just it's been kind of this weird rock star living few months, and it's been kind of insane. Which after all the years of working with Ashley, it's been nice to see it all pay off. So, well,
congratulations! That's awesome. I know you work so hard, so I'm glad you're seeing some fruits of your labor, man. That's got to feel rewarding. You can only suffer so much and enjoy it,
Well, yeah, I've done. We've done a lot of that. I mean, I've told people it wasn't that long ago. I mean, 3-4 years ago. Where we'd go play at a restaurant and not be sure if we had enough money for to cover the gas,
Wow.
And that's been kind of what we used to do. And then Ashley used to not be able to afford full band gigs, but maybe once every 2 months. And so now for us to we just moved up from a 15 passenger van and U-Haul trailer to a Mercedes Sprinter with bunks in it. And it's just kind of it's been really great and really rewarding every little step of the way to kind of just make sure you don't take anything for granted, because we have been working for so long, at this one gig, and I've been working but this is my 7th year working with her. And so seeing it all actually come to fruition's been great.
I think that says a lot about how good you feel about the team and about her leadership and her potential, that it's like raising a child.
Oh yeah, man. When we got signed on with our management last year, I just went around the office telling everybody, like, thank you, because now I feel less crazy, because I've been telling everyone for years, oh no, she's amazing. Oh no, her songs are great. Oh no, you really need to listen to it. And when nothing was really happening in that department, at some point I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And so now to see it, she just signed with Warner Brothers. We've got great management on board, music video out. We did an album with Joyce, who's,
wow, that's awesome.
That's who produced our record. I mean, that's coming out in probably somewhere in the beginning of the year. And
wow, that's a really good sign, because that guy doesn't spend his time with something that's not gonna. Yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't realize that. That's great, man.
That's the thing, and it's just like every little thing like that, I'm like, oh yes, maybe I was right. So it's nice, man. But yeah, it's been fun, and it's gonna be even more fun.
That's great, man. I'm really happy for you.
Thanks, dude.
As I know, you're the tour manager and the band leader. I don't really know what those positions do. Can you just maybe explain what they are? What are your responsibilities as a tour manager and a band leader?
Yeah, well, the band leaders thing, when we started doing this a little more full time, and things started escalating with her career a couple years ago, she had recorded an EP in the studio that Bart Butler had produced, and had like Rob McNally playing keys and Miles McPherson on drum. Or I'm sorry, Rob was obviously playing guitar. I have just woke up.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, Rob McNally on guitar. He plays with like Bob Seger and used to play with Delbert McClinton. He's a great player. And Miles McPherson was on drums, and I don't remember.
Another pretty good player.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, it's just, you can't. Just tons of great players. But so she had this EP recorded, and it was one of those things where it looked like we were headed with that management at the time, and what we were kind of trying to push for labels. It looked like we were kind of going a little more on the mainstream side of things, and so so traditionally what you'd have is like you'd have a band leader or a musical director would go through all the songs, chart them out, make sure they know exactly what everyone's supposed to play on what parts, what particular part of the song, you're in and everything. And so when you run like a rehearsal, you're listening more to like what everybody else is playing than what you're playing. So that's kind of your responsibility, is to make sure that everybody does exactly what they need to do, and that what they need to do, not just yourself. So that was kind of the thing. And now the band leader term is, I would say, more of a ceremonial thing, just because I've been doing it now for almost, for a little over a year. And and I just kind of am the go-to for if anyone's got a problem, or if there's any questions about anything, they just kind of come to me. If it's like band stuff, gear stuff, anything like that. And then, so complementary to that is the tour manager position, which right now is something we're trying to get a full-time, just separate tour manager in. But that's right now. My job includes overseeing all the merch sales and stock and everything like that. Booking travel. Sorry, my birds wanted to talk with us too.
No, it's all good, man.
So just overseeing merch at the shows, booking travel, booking the van rentals and everything, making sure you got hotels booked when you get to the town, advancing all the shows, making sure the back line's there if it needs to be rented, talking with production, sort of covering like all the behind the scenes stuff, and making sure that if we need a 3-foot drum riser at the venue, then that they have one, or that they get us one. Making sure that when we get there's food, and if there's not food, knowing who to yell at because they didn't read your rider. And, you know, so just, I mean, it's just kind of,
It's a lot of work.
It really is.
Yeah, man. It sounds
not a lot of sleep. So,
and it sounds like as a band leader, in how you described it, it's almost like you're the producer on the road.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah, and that has like that's evolved into more of it's more of a collaborative effort at this point, especially since Sancho joined. You know, where it feels more like a band than it does an artist and the guys that work for that artist.
That's great.
And so now the you know, quote, band leader position is not really a thing, except for like we'll be in a rehearsal and you know, maybe things will get a little off the rails, the conversation goes a little longer than it needs to, and I'm still kind of the asshole who goes, guys, let's get back to work. You know,
no, but somebody's got to do that. You know,
yeah, well, I'm a real good asshole. You know, that comes in handy.
Yeah, that's a blessing and a curse. I've been a good asshole sometimes in my life as well.
Yeah, man.
You know, I heard some of your playing, nowhere near as much as I wanted, but I did search and see a few videos of you on YouTube, and you've got a very wide range of taste. I don't want to say it's an eclectic, but you're like really, you could stretch out, you know, you're very versatile and you can go to the fringes of whatever you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's nice of you to say. Yeah, I don't like boxes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't, I found a long time ago that, I just realized I'm never going to be one of those jazz guys. I'm never going to be one of those guys that can just, you know, shred their face off. I'm never going to be one of those guys that can, you know, just straight up play bluegrass 8 hours a day. And so I tried to like figure out a way to like play to my strengths, and within that, like I got drawn more to like some sort of like some of the avant-garde stuff and a little more outside the box, like, you know, stuff even like as mainstream as Rush to like Zappa and like Nels Cline or Wayne Krantz, or, you know, even just like guys like John Abercrombie and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, you could call them jazz, or you could call them, there's all sorts of categories you can lump them into.
Sure.
But really what they're doing doesn't really fall into a category. And so, but they're not, you know, really fast players or like flashy players. It's just like their note choices are always kind of very specific and very intentional. And that's kind of where I've had to, like, for lack of being of other skills, like I just found myself comfortable in playing around that. So like I know we were talking. I think one of the videos you said you saw was like
it was a blues video, and even your. And I love blues, and even you were more like, and I hate to compare, and I only mean this in a good way. You know, you're stretching out like a guy like a Warren Haynes does. I don't know how familiar you are with his playing.
Yeah. Well,
which I thought, hey man, if it's not your bird, it's my dog, so we're all good.
No, it's all right. It's all right. No, it's I found it's my bird. No, but with Warren. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you stretch it out, and it's it's not something, as a guitar player myself, quote unquote, it's not something that is easy, and it's not something that goes unnoticed to someone who pays attention and who's aware.
Yeah, it's not something that like, and I hate you know, saying like, oh, well, no one really gets it or whatever. But like, you know, if I'm playing in Nashville, like on Broadway or whatever, I do the same thing. And I know how to do the whole, you know, situation where it's like the epic guitar solo. I know how to, you know, I mean, I learned how to play Aerosmith and all that stuff too growing up. But my comfort zone is just outside of that.
Yeah.
And I've been there for so long that like, I don't really know how to, you know, I don't naturally tend like gravitate towards the, you know, like, if we're doing a country tune, like the ascending tenths thing, it's just like, that's not really my bag. or like a bunch of double stops and stuff. I can do that, and it is something I learned how to do, and I'm very, adept at, but it's not something I don't live there anymore.
Yeah.
And so whenever, I guess one of my proudest moments is like when at that Nashville guitar community thing that with Matt, a few months ago, like we got done, and I was pretty happy about it, and it had a great rhythm section playing with me, and I was like, well, that's a good show. And then, but the guys who complimented me were players like, I mean, Brent Mason was there, and James Mitchell was there,
Wow.
Kevin Key, and all these guys, and they were just like, oh man, it was like, we want to hear more of that. It was loud and obnoxious, and it was atonal in places. And I was like, and that's, so I find myself that like, I kind of live in that world where it's like a lot of the stuff I play really only excites other guitar players. Not so much.
I wouldn't. I'd be hard. I think you're being a little rough on yourself saying it only excites guitar players. I mean, you're a very melodic player, and I think only guitar players will notice what you're doing. The average layperson isn't going to notice it. They're going to say, "Wow, that sounds really good," and they're not going to be able to identify why any more than I can look at a picture, or I could look at somebody in the NBA, Kyrie Irving taking a shot and saying, I understand the mechanics. I can look at it and say, wow, it's good. And that's graceful, but I don't know what's going on. And I think that's,
maybe.
No, you're playing. But, I have this expression, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I think that's very true with you, because even your equipment selection is not, you don't have a Fender Tele with a Fender, so, and I respect that. I like that. That turns me on about people that, they're doing their own thing and they're doing it well.
Well, yeah, the gear thing's a whole other rabbit hole, but yeah, I just don't, man, it was several years ago. I just found myself in a place where it was like, okay, well, if I go, I have like, basically I got to like a crossroads, it seemed like. It's like, all right, well, if I go this way, I can do the whole sort of mainstream deal, like get the high gain amp, or like, get a Marshall half stack, do that kind of a gig, or get a twin and do that kind of a thing, and get kind of the stereotypical things. But like, yeah, man, I'm happier. Like I use an AC30 all the time. That's been my main amp since I was 18. I that and like an old 5E3 and just some fun and some funky other ones. I just picked up a Vox Pathfinder at a pawn shop the other day that I love, and I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate it in my live rig, even though it's solid state and 15 watts. So it's just like, the gear thing is similar to like my playing. It's just like, well, I don't aspire. I've never been turned on by, fancy, like the fancy Strats or whatever. It's like, I still think of Telecaster that's more than $500 as a ripoff. It's two pieces of wood and 4 screws. It's not a big deal. Now, we can get into the vintage thing, and that's a whole other conversation, but like for just like gear, it's like, man, I like stuff that's different. I like stuff that's not what everybody else is doing and not what everybody else has. Like, for instance, like the last few months I've been on this gig, we've been just going down, I've been going down this whole weird rabbit hole of like, I got rid of, like, I don't have an overdrive pedal on my board anymore for like our touring board.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just like, I have like 4 fuzz pedals.
Okay.
Various different kinds.
That's, yeah.
But like, it's still like, there's no like tradition. It's one of those, I just kind of was like, well, if my amp can do it, why do I need the pedal for it? It's like, in certain, like, I would never show up to a session for anybody and not have an overdrive pedal, because that's like, sometimes you need that sound immediately. But yeah, man, I've just found myself in a place where I just like, I try not to grab what everybody else grabs. I try to find a thing that does what I need, and it does the thing. And I love cheap shit too, man. My favorite pedal lately is this fuzz pedal from Behringer. It's called the Super Fuzz, and it's a clone of the old K orange fuzz that like Lanois used, and it came with like a wah rocker, and like it's the beginning of maybe Evolution on U2, and you can hear. I mean, you can just hear the Edge using it or whatever. But anyway, got this thing on reverb for like $20.
Wow,
killer! It's one of my favorite things ever. It's got a boost setting and two fuzz circuits.
And it's called. Let me write this down. It's a Behringer what?
Super Fuzz.
I'm gonna check that out, man.
Yeah, they don't make them anymore, so you got to find them on eBay and stuff. But like, it's plastic, and I think I'm gonna get it rehoused because yeah, man. And it's just like I've never been one to get on. I never jumped on the Strymon bandwagon. I never jumped on the Morgan amp bandwagon. And there's a lot of stuff that in Nashville is like
yeah, it's very trendy.
Well, and it's not it's like, well, if you're trying to cop those sounds. If you know that a session player or the guy who played on the record used a Strymon timeline to get that dotted eighth modulated delay, we'll go get a Strymon timeline and dotted eighth modulated delay. It's the same exact sound. That makes sense to me, but I don't like just being I don't like being pigeonholed. I don't like being in that box. So I went and got a different delay. I figured out how to make that sound like the other thing. So
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about the AC30. I love the Vox sound, and when I was buying amps, the guy told me, he said they don't go well with pedals, but like I know a lot of guys now, that doesn't make any sense.
If it's a single channel amp, it goes well with pedals.
Okay.
On the pedal, like I would not put a treble booster into the top boost channel of an AC30 because there's enough band already.
And they make AC15s, don't they?
They do, yeah. My AC30 is from what they call the Korg era. So there was a time, it's from like 94 to like 2000, where Korg bought them and they were still manufacturing the amps in England. They were not point-to-point wired or a circuit board, but they were still they're considered, if you're going to get a reissue, these are the ones to get. Now, there are some problems with them from the factory, like the rectifier doesn't warm up when you have it on standby. So you
could vary the wattage on that?
No, you can't. You can't. AC30 is like 33 watts. AC15 is like 18 watts or something like that. But the AC15s and AC30s from that 94 to 2001 era, those are the ones to get if you're going to get a reissue. 90. They're expensive now. Like I think the last time I saw a 30 from that era with I think it was like $1,800 or something like that. So
it's from 94 to, you said what?
94 to 2000 era ish, but yeah, those are British made. They come with the original Celestions.
And those are, you're talking about combos or separate heads?
Combos. Yeah. They did make an AC30 head, I think, at one point in that era, but I just have a combo.
See, I need like a 15 because I have a Dr. Z. It's a Maz Senior, and it's
yeah. Was that like 25 watts or something like that?
No, it's 38, and I play in my bedroom. This is like it's ridiculous. I've got to get a smaller amp. This is like.
I'm telling you, I got this Vox Pathfinder 15 watt amp, solid state. It's like, it's. Hang on, I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's like this.
So it's a 1x12.
No.
1x10?
It's a
6-inch speaker. Wow.
And but it's a Celestion speaker. It's a 6-inch Celestion Blue, and that thing's killer, man. It's got a great tremolo circuit on it. It's got a boost. It's got a master, like a pre and post gain. And I have a friend who used to tour with that band Over the Rhine. Toured with just two of those. That was his rig for a decade, and just ran two of them in stereo.
And that's it. And it sounds like I won't be sitting there thinking I wish I had a tube amp.
Not for $40 you won't.
Oh, that's $40?
Yeah, I paid $40 for that at a pawn shop the other day. You see them on eBay go for like maybe $100, but like, dude, yeah, man, it's just like it's a great sounding amp. It's a little studio killer, It's just like, so yeah, I think that's a good little combo to have just around the house. Okay. I usually take that on the road with us and just have it backstage, in the green room.
Man, because I have something that size. It's like a rolling cube. Oh my God, it sounds awful.
The cube amps are kind of suck, but the blues cube.
Yeah, this is a regular, like 5-6 years ago I bought it. It was like, it sounds, every time it's just like a backup, and then every time I have to pull it out, it's like actually depressing.
Oh, I know exactly what amp it is. Yeah,
it's got the 4 switches on top, metal, blues. Yeah. It's just awful, man. It's
man, the gear thing, I can just go, man. I can go down, as my fiance could attest to. I can go down such a rabbit hole, and I try and talk to her about these things I want to build, and she doesn't get nearly as excited as I want her to be.
Is she a musician?
Not at all.
Of course she's not going to get excited. If she talked to you about it's like her talking to you about gardening or something. Would you get excited about that?
I can get into that. Yeah.
Hey, you're originally from Nashville, and you obviously, growing up in that musical family, had musical around you. When did you know you wanted to play guitar professionally? Like, what was the series of events? Or
I don't have a moment where that was a thing where I decided, oh, this is what I want to do. I don't really have a point in life I can just say, oh, that was the day. There are because it was just like, okay, I guess that's just what I do. I mean, not quite, it's a family business, but my dad was a session player and singer-songwriter. And
in Nashville?
Yeah. And then my uncle was a vice president at BMI for a long time. And so it wasn't, I mean, it was just kind of a thing. It's like, oh, I guess I'll just do this. But I always think it was probably like high school when I tried to like actually kick it into gear. And, I was probably like 16 or 17 and toured with a little punk band or whatever. And then did that for a minute and kind of got the touring bug and was like, oh, okay, this is a thing we can do. And just kind of kept at it and started picking up a few session gigs here and there, and then played on a couple of local records for some buddies, and then just kind of kept going, man. Just not really, there was not really a moment where I was like, there are some people that I met or some players that I saw or heard on records that definitely kind of kicked me in the butt and was like, oh, I want to do that. Whatever that is they're doing, I want to figure out what that is, and I want to do that.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think there was really a moment where it was just like, it wasn't like the light came down from the heaven.
It was almost like organic. It sounded very like this is what we do.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, man. Yeah. And I mean, growing up around a bunch of musicians, and then growing up around Nashville, just like, I mean, just kind of the thing.
Is your dad still around?
No, he passed when I was 2.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I'm sorry, man.
Not your fault.
You had mentioned John Shaw before. He's just in general a very smart guy when it comes to guitars and stuff.
That guy.
Yeah.
It's all a shame.
I had a guitar. Now you remember I've interviewed probably 60 guys at this point, right? Yeah. I had a guitar question. The first guy I emailed, and the only guy I emailed was John Shaw, because his uncle, actually, one of the ways he got so smart, I don't know if you know this, his uncle was a luthier and a very a serious player. Mm-hmm. So he grew up teaching John, okay, this is how you buy smart. This is the so he knew all the.
John's probably made more money off of flipping vintage guitars.
Yeah,
so he started when he was 14 years old, 14, 15. He's probably made more money flipping vintage guitars than I've ever made working in tech.
No, he's a sharp guy. And now I'm going to interview his uncle, because I said, man, I want to go to the source and let me tap into that wellspring, So I'm talking to Dennis in a little bit. So how many, you have brothers and sisters? Does all of you guys get into music?
I've just got one sister. And she's not really. She played piano a little bit when we were kids, but she's not really playing anymore. So.
Sure. Last time we spoke, initially you had mentioned that you left Nashville for a while and you moved up to New York City. I was curious what prompted that move, and did you sort of find what you were looking for up in New York?
Well, a couple things. It was all sort of a series of events that just sort of kind of became congruent together. What happened was I was playing for some artists that I would, for the sake of politics, we just won't name.
Sure, man.
But I was doing a lot of this sort of bro country thing, and I kind of found myself in that world, and sort of dipping my toe in and getting pissed when like somebody would get a session when I didn't get it. But it would be for just some bullshit, generic, bubblegum record, and like, well, why do I care? And then so I remember there was one moment where I was playing this thing called Whiskey Jam, which they do every Monday night, and down in Midtown. And the artist I was playing with was just atrocious. The songs were the worst songs I've ever played. And, I was getting paid like $150 or something for like 3 tunes. And so I remember we did a little rehearsal before the gig, go down there, play it, and I walked out of there. I bummed a cigarette off the door guy. I don't even smoke. And I just walked around. I walked around on the sidewalk just having this whole like emotional breakdown of like, this is the most trite bullshit thing. What the fuck am I even doing here? Such and such and such and so on. And man, I just had it. And I'd been dating my current fiance, and we'd been dating for a little less than a year at that time. And the next day I just called her and I was like, hey, I've got to get out of here. And I think I've always wanted to move to New York, and that's where you're living. Can we try this? And so we did. And I moved up there, I guess, in like August. That would have been about probably May or June. And then I moved in the following August. And we got an apartment up there, and it took me a minute to get my shit together and start playing gigs, but I started playing a good bit and got to play with some amazing guys who are friends of mine now. Like, man, like you were talking about Warren Haynes earlier, like Andy Hess, who used to play with Government Mule, bass player, and he's played at dive bar gigs with me now, and I've played with him at like church gigs and all over the place. And then just great players, man. Like, John Coward, who plays with the Brian Blade Fellowship. He's a buddy of mine. We were in a band together. Dan Reeser, who played with Nora Jones for years. We were in a band together. And I was just, I became friends with some of these guys who I'd always read about or kind of become heroes with. Like Jim Campolonga is a guy who, like we're buddies now because of just like we played at the same bar. And man, being up there really kind of gave me the freedom. Like everybody, like, as soon as I moved there, everybody was like, "Oh, you're from Nashville? We'll play on my record." Because I was like, "Well, you've not heard me play," and they're like, "It doesn't matter. You're from Nashville."
Oh, wow.
So
they just assume you're like a badass session dude.
Sure, and I mean, yeah, and it worked. And I mean, I did some interesting work up there, like some improvisational sessions and pop stuff and country stuff, and like it ran the gamut. And
most of the studios in Manhattan up there or in Brooklyn?
Studios a little generous.
Yeah, okay.
Usually it's somebody's apartment, and you just plug straight into the inbox. But, right. No, man, yeah. So just it's kind of all over the place, and so yeah, what happened was I realized the only way I was going to be able to get gigs was to book them myself, and so I just started booking. I reached out to this guy who booked at a bar in my neighborhood, and he come to find out he was a big fan of my grandpa's music, and he actually had a band that played a lot of that music, and he was like, "Yeah, man, just whenever you want to play." And I was like, "How about these dates?" And then I was like, "I guess I need to find a bass player and a drummer now." And so I found, got together a rhythm section, and like the first night I played in Brooklyn with my band, it was the steel player who used to play for Shooter Jennings, the bass player that plays with Sandra McCracken, and the drummer for Lana Del Rey.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
3 hours of country music. It was very weird. And, but like through that of just like, and just, just calling up people and be like, "Hey, I got this gig. It's going to pay probably nothing, but it's going to be fun. And I'll give you a beer, make sure like we'll make tips and maybe you won't have to pay for your cab."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was able to kind of, sort of convince people to play with me that way. But what happened was I think people saw that like, oh no, I'm not like the best singer, I'm not the best guitar player or anything like that, but I don't mind. I'm not going to stick to the formula, kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't mind going outside the box. And like, you know, so we'd play like Working Man's Blues or something, and we'd kind of treat it like a jazz tune where it's like, okay, well, here's the head. And then we'll do like the A section 3 times, and then we'll do a solo, and then we'll swap solos, and everybody kind of takes 8 here and there, and then we'll come back to it and we'll, you know, end it. And that's kind of like a thing I did for like about 2.5, 3 years there, just sort of developed this whole way of approaching just music and songs in general, not even just country music, but especially country music, where it can also go out in ways, because the form's so simple. I mean, it's like, it's a blues form if you look at a lot of that old stuff. So I would say it really kind of emboldened me in a lot of ways to, go left whenever everybody else is going right, and to take what everybody else is doing and not do that, and really kind of just mess with the formula and, you know, screw with backwards delay pedals on a Willie Nelson song or whatever. And so that really sort of put me in the place of the headspace to like, okay, well, so we do this record with Jay Joyce. That guy doesn't think like everybody else either. I was ready for that from doing my own thing in New York. So when we left, man, it wasn't like we were like, oh, it beat us or anything. It made sense for us to leave at the time we did. But, you know, I'm not done with that city. We're going to be up there next month for a couple of days, and I'm very looking forward to it and seeing some friends and stuff, you know.
Awesome. So, I give you a lot of credit, because that's in many ways, because what were you, like 26 when you went up there, maybe 27?
It's 27, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. I'm from there. That could be an intimidating place for
very intimidating.
A guy from Nashville, you know. And it sounds like you went up there looking for. I don't want to say creative freedom, but it sounds like you went up there looking to get out of the prison of of having to do X, Y, you know, having to the monkey clicks the frickin' cymbals 3 times, you know, and it sounds like you got what you were looking for. So I'm really glad that worked out for you, man. And I bet you it gave you a ton of confidence especially like for you to step into the band leader role. I'm sure after that experience in New York, you were like, fuck, no problem, man. I'm there.
Well, no, for sure. And then like when you find yourself in a situation where, like, I remember one time I did this church gig in South Park Slope, right? Mm-hmm. The drummer was Matt Johnson, who played with Jeff Buckley. The bass player is Andy Hess, you know, and the keys player is Eric Deutsch, who plays with the Leftovers Hammond. You know, so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, well, first off, I don't need to be here.
Right.
And then we're playing. And like for the outro of the service, we're playing an Art Blakey tune, and I'm supposed to take a 16 bar. Yeah, and I'm taking a 16 bar solo, and I'm just like, I don't think anyone got the memo that I don't know jazz.
Right.
And it's like one of those things where it's like, well, man, if like I can fake it with those guys and get those guys convinced that I know what I'm doing, then I don't really care about what you think, you know. It's like,
but that's the cool thing about New York that people don't get. Where else are you going to have a church thing ending with an Art Blakey? I mean, that's just so fucking typical. And yeah, that's what I loved about growing up there, man. It's just that exposure to everything and everybody was like invaluable, man. I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah.
Who are your biggest influences? You mentioned a couple guitar wise. Just wanted to.
Oh God. This is weird. Man. So I think like my biggest influence, honestly, and it continues to be, it gets bigger and bigger every year, I think, is Reeves Gabrels, the guy who played with Tim Machine.
Totally. Yeah, he played with David Bowie for a little while too, didn't he? Yeah. Really good guitarist.
18 years with Bowie.
Is he from France or something? Or
no, he's from Boston.
Okay, I don't know why I thought he was from overseas.
Well, he lived in the UK for a long time, but that first Tin Machine record like just really just changed my whole world. And I've been fortunate to like become friends with him over the last few years. And I just tell him all the time, like, man, if it wasn't for you, you know, I wouldn't be doing. And he's been real supportive and kind of taken on a sort of mentor role in a lot of ways. And then
that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. But like him, I mean, I'm a big Hendrix fan. Obviously, I really like Adrian Belew. I like a lot of stuff he does,
Interesting.
um, especially when he makes pop songs because I think they're hilarious. Um, I mean, Roy Buchanan.
Oh my God! You talk
Yeah,
about there has been nobody since, and I don't think there could ever be anybody like him. I mean, Jeff Beck does his own thing, but it's nothing like what Roy did.
oh yeah, and I mean, and Jeff Beck's another guy, man.
Oh.
I too just kind of like we're. I mean, I could run the gamut of like guys I've ripped stuff off from, but definitely like Reeves and like Nels Cline are probably the two biggest guys for me in the last 10 years. That just like oh man, you can do stuff and work and not have to do the same old shit.
That's awesome.
So,
very cool. You have some really interesting gear. I don't want to spend too long on it, but what's your go-to guitar right now, and why?
Okay, well, so I have this guitar called a Wandre. It's from the '60s from Italy.
It's called a what?
Wandre, Wandre.
Okay.
And it is a hollow body, and the body's made out of fiberglass. The neck is made out of aluminum, with a rosewood fretboard. And
is that the blue one?
No, this is the. Well, I've got it right.
Yeah, man, I haven't seen that one.
So this is the white one.
Oh wow! And so okay, so let me describe this. It looks like the new Supros that are out. It kind of looks like one of those a little bit, but like, except it looks like it's plastic, but I know it's not plastic.
Well, yeah, and it's got a floating pick guard.
That is so wild. So how did you come across that thing? Where did you find that?
Yeah, so the bridge is like an upside-down tune-o-matic, and you can adjust everything with your thumbs. And then the aluminum neck, you can see, it's just like a broomstick.
So it's light as hell? Is that
Oh, yeah. It weighs like 4.5 pounds. It's ridiculous.
Where did you come across that? What's the backstory?
Okay, so about 7 or 8 years ago, there was an issue of Fretboard Journal that had Marc Ribot in it, and he was holding up this Wandre guitar. It was like white and hollow, and I was like, good God. I know about those from Buddy Miller, but I was like, if I ever find that guitar, I'm buying it. Just I have that model. And we were doing pre-production for Ashley's record back in November, and I was talking with Jay, the producer, about just like guitars that we wanted, and he was like, yeah, man, I was one of those Wandres, and Gillian Welch at the time had one for sale. And we both knew that guitar, and we were like, this one's a little too much for it or whatever. And I just realized that I had never done a search on Reverb.com, for one, because last time I looked for those, Reverb wasn't a thing. And so I just hopped on there. We're sitting there and having lunch, and like I find this model, and I was like, oh, that looks just like the Marc Ribot model that he had in that Fretboard Journal article. And then I look up see where it's being sold, and it was being sold at Main Drag in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, it's probably Marc's guitar. So I called Main Drag, and I was like, I want that guitar. I'm not going to be up there for like another 3 weeks. I had to go up there for a gig. And they're like, well, you could do a layaway and, do like a hold on it. But if someone comes in here with like cash, we'll have to take that, we'll call you. But it's like, okay, yeah. So I just went ahead and it's like, I threw down like a 10% or down payment on it or something like that. And I was like, I need to touch it.
Yeah. You can't just.
And then I ended up like, I had a credit card that was going to expire. And I went ahead and just put it on that like before the end of the month. And I was like, okay, I just bought this guitar without touching the thing. But I was like, if Marc had it, I'm sure it's great. So I got up there and we had to do some work to it. The jack it was all original. And the output jack wasn't a 1/4 inch. It was slightly smaller because it's from Italy in the 60s. So we had to do a lot of work to it. And not a ton, but we had to do some work to get it kind of like, tour worthy and everything. But yeah, I take it out on the road now. And I told myself when I got it, I was like, I'm not going to fly with this thing. And then I ended up buying a fiberglass case for it just in case I have to check it. And so I do fly with it. So
what does it sound like? And what kind of pickups are on there? Is it humbucker or single coils, or what is it?
They're weird. They're these weird fat single coils that they're kind of, they remind me a lot of the Bigsby pickups, like the ones that Paul Bigsby made. Then those kind of have a Faraday cage built around them, so there's no hum. So these things don't really hum unless you put them like right in front of the amp. You know, pretty gained out. It's kind of sounds like a Teisco in a lot of ways, but it's got a lot more personality. It's its own thing. And it really is like, it took me a long time to figure out where it fits in, where you can use that in a gig and make it work. But I use it.
Where do you use it?
Oh, I mean, all the time, every time I can. If there's something that's like, you know, really a Telecaster thing or really a Les Paul thing or 335 thing, I'll use those. But if it's not, I'll just use this if I can, because it's my favorite.
So that's your go-to guitar right now?
Right now, yeah. I mean, I've got on the road with Ashley, I have about anywhere between 5 to 8 guitars out just because of tunings and just tones and stuff. And I just like guitars, you know. So
did you get to meet Marc when you were up in New York?
No, he's one of those guys we've still never met. We got a bunch of mutual friends, and another friend of mine just went on a date with him the other day, and we haven't ever met. But I've played, like, a lot of the guys that he played with have played with me, where we've played in different situations.
Sure.
I mean, you know, New York is just like, it's a much smaller city than you think it is.
Yeah.
And
well, the music community in general is much smaller, and it's people. As somebody who has only in the last 6 months gotten in there myself, it seems like, you know, like once you're vetted, it's like, man, no problem. Here, go talk to this guy, go talk to this guy. And it's like, really, everybody's been so kind. It has blown me away, because as a business guy, it's not like that in the business world, man. It's like, it's a longer, you know, road to hope.
I feel like with music, man, it's like the longer you're in it, like if you've been doing something, like if you've been playing for 15 years, 20 years, and you've been doing it professionally for so long, if you've been around that long and you're still working and you don't have a day job, you're probably an okay person.
Yeah.
And so that already speaks for itself. And then if you know, like if I'm talking to somebody in LA and at a show and they know somebody else from Nashville or someone from New York that I know, well, then automatically it's like, well, if you're friends with that person, then all right.
Yeah, you're probably cool. Yeah.
So it does, but it's like, you know, I mean, a lot of the guys that, if you've just been doing it that long, you're probably an okay guy, because people, you know, like jerks don't work very long.
Yeah, and every musician I've spoken to, literally verbatim, says the same thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think that's the thing, and that's why you just gotta not, because you never know who knows who, and you gotta just be careful with not.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody off, you know. So
totally. Let's talk about some personal questions, if you're good with that.
Sure.
About you, what's your best childhood memory? Because I would imagine you've got a plethora.
Well, yeah, man. Okay, so I was about 9 years old, and there used to be this theme park in Nashville called Opryland.
Yeah, man, I went there when I was a little kid.
Yeah, okay, all right. So we used to have like season passes, and it was weird, man. Like if you think about it, even back in the 90s, my mom would just like drop me and my friends off, and like be like, "Okay, I'll come back at 5."
Yeah.
And just like drive away. And it's the South. So but I was there one time when my mom and little Jimmy Dickens was playing a show. He had a weekly thing he'd do on like Tuesdays at one of the stages. And we went and saw him play, and then my mom came up to him and she introduced us, and she was like, "Oh, this, you know, my husband was Red's son, and this is his Red's grandson," and everything like that. And he just got so excited to meet me and everything, and let me play his guitar. And
wow.
Put his hat on me, you know, which I was at 9. I was about the same height he was. And I was like, so it was kind of funny. And then he told me these stories about my grandpa. That was really, man, that was pretty cool. But I mean, like, just, there was a bunch of weird childhood memories of like meeting people that you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that would be really cool if it wasn't like an everyday thing.
Yeah. I interviewed, do you know a young, he's much younger than you, a guy named John Prentice. His dad's Marc Prentice.
Oh yeah. I know you.
And he had the same upbringing because his dad and mom are both in the industry. And he said, you know, having these guys at my house, he goes, it was just what you said. It would have been cool if it wasn't like, you know, every day.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't know it was cool, is I guess what he was saying.
Yeah, so here's you can cut this out or whatever, but here's a name droppy, braggy thing. Years ago, I took this girl I was dating, and I went to go see the Time Jumpers on like at Station Inn, I think. And so Vince Gill had just joined that band, and so I go up and talk to Andy Reese, the guitar player, and he's a buddy of mine, been a friend of mine for years. So I go talk to him. He just got this new guitar and this new amp, and we were just like talking about gear or whatever. And I noticed that the girl I was with was like kind of looking over my shoulder and like slack jawed, like kind of thing. And Andy goes, Andrew, I think Vincent wants to give you a hug. And so I turn around and there's Vince Gill, and he's like, hey man, and just like, you know, gives me a hug or whatever. And then I realized the reason why this girl couldn't believe what was going on was that Vince was waiting his turn to get to say hey to me,
to talk with you. Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I know how weird that would be for other people, but it's just kind of like, well, that's kind of, you know, just, I know the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Totally.
So yeah, just kind of, you know, just kind of weird stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing, but like, I mean, there were just so many cool things that happened when I was a kid. Of like, I remember going and seeing Johnny Highland at the Turf Club before it got torn down by a hurricane, you know, when he was playing in like '98, or seeing like Guthrie Trapp when he first started with Don Kelly, you know, and just crazy, you know, crazy stuff like that. It was like really, like, again, it was really inspiring.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first record or CD you purchased?
I do. Back in Black.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's a great record.
Oh, awesome record. Yeah, man. Very cool.
Great one to wake up to.
Yeah, man. There's nothing bad about that record at all.
I mean, just the whole history of that whole situation and why that record was so good on its own right. But the fact that you lose your lead singer to get somebody totally new.
And you come back with that?
An amazing album.
Yeah. Very, very, very monumental. Who's the most important person in your life and why?
Oh, well, that'd probably be my fiance. That'd be a smart thing to say.
Honey, listen to this interview that I did.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's accurate, though. No, man, she's been, she's an amazing partner and very supportive, and we support each other. Like when we first started living together in New York, took me probably 6 months before I had like enough work to really like contribute anything. You know, we talked about it beforehand. She's like, "Yeah, just as long as you're working, we can make this happen." And you know, and so we've just been real supportive of each other. And I would say, yeah, especially right now, because it's like we're starting Friday. We're not going to see each other for over a month, and we're both okay with that. You know, I mean, it sucks, but we're cool with it, I guess.
That's good, man. I'm happy for you. It's really, I mean, that's probably been the highlight of my life. I've been with my wife 25 years, and I would honestly say that it's only a better relationship now. Whereas we've worked very hard at that, but we've also had the serendipity that work has paid off, and it's definitely made the biggest difference in my life more than anything. So I wish you good luck, man. It sounds like you're well on your way. Are you a rule breaker or rule follower?
Oh, probably a rule breaker.
Yeah,
I guess depends on the rule.
No, I'd say you're a rule breaker.
Well, I like my thing is, if there is a rule, I like to know why the rule is there, and then what the background of the rule is, and then what the reasoning behind the rule is, and what are the ramifications of breaking that rule before I make my decision. I try and make very informed decisions that way, but
So you're a conservative rule breaker.
yeah, well, I don't even go that far. I just want to, if it doesn't make any fucking sense, then fuck your rules.
I hear that, man. You're preaching to the choir.
If it's arbitrary, what's the point? So
you are preaching to the choir, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Not really. That's something I need to work on.
It's hard. It's hard to get a balance. It really is. Whatever your vocation is, man, it is.
Yeah.
It's important too. You know what I did? It helped me out. And I did this with my wife too. Like I live and die by my calendar. So I just started putting stuff on my calendar that was not business related. Like, do this, and even with, like, so for me, practice my guitar is my outlet.
Yeah.
So now it's done every day. Hanging out with my wife, this is way back when I first started really getting busy and my business was growing. And I had a scheduled time and it was the best thing I ever did.
Well, the thing is, good thing about where we live is we live about 20 minutes from the beach, so we try and do that as much as possible, just some downtime.
Yeah, that's nice. And especially we're coming into good season now, man. It's, I don't know what it's like up there, but it's been oppressively humid here, man. It's been gross.
Well, that's just what it is in the South. Man.
Yeah.
I grew up with it. So
but it's been, it seems like it's been worse. We have mosquitoes in January. We never had that.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It's just been worse the last few years, so I'm really looking forward to fall.
Yep.
What's a favorite part of your job and the least favorite?
Man, I don't know that I have a least favorite part of the job. I think I guess my favorite lately is it seems like every show we play, more and more people are singing along to songs, and that's real weird and real exciting and real cool. And nothing makes you feel more like a sap and cry than watching somebody sing a song that you recorded and wrote. And there's so much that's happening right there and so much emotion that brings up where it's like, okay, well, if this is what life is going to be, I guess I can get used to it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that.
I guess least favorite though, if I had to pick one, would probably just be, we don't really sleep that much. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. That's a common.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's an occupational hazard for a touring musician. 3 questions and we'll be done. I want to respect your time. Number 1, most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on stage or in the studio?
Okay, well, let's see. On stage. Let's see. Okay, well, there's 2. I'm trying to figure out which is more embarrassing. All right, so this one time, I was out on tour with the Fox Brothers, so I would have been maybe 20, 21 maybe, and we were in various phases of the flu, and we were just kind of going through. It was 7 dudes on a bus, so there's not really much room for. You can only sanitize so much. So it was my week to be sick, and we were playing in Florida somewhere. I think we were in Fort Myers,
okay, or
somewhere around there, Orlando or something. And we were playing there, and I had to put a 55-gallon drum trash can behind my guitar boat, and so I was on a wireless, so I could walk back there and throw up.
Nice.
And I'm having to sing too. This one time, so about halfway into the set, and I had the whole station, baby wipes and towels and shit and everything. So, and it was bad. So about midway between the set, I'm supposed to put my guitar down, and I grab my trumpet, and I gotta go walk around the crowd, out and back and around the crowd, and then I come back and I do this trumpet solo from the middle of the crowd. Well, on my way out, I apparently didn't miss the trash can at one point. I slipped on some vomit and just ass over elbow.
Oh my God!
Landed. Then I bounced back up or whatever, And that was embarrassing because some people saw that, and it just big noise on the stage. So then I get down, and I'm walking around, and then I realized I rolled my fucking ankle when I did it. So then it just starts swelling, and then I'm just start limping.
Oh
and,
my God.
Dragging my foot along. So not only am I violently ill, but now I'm limping. So I'm in the middle of the crowd, and I do this trumpet solo, and then I'm like, I have got to walk under a spotlight back to my position on stage, and I'm limping like someone, like I'm caught in a bear trap. So it was just like...
Well, plus you felt so deathly ill on top of all that, man.
I do the trumpet thing, standing ovation, people are freaking out, and they're going, and I'm trying to get back up to the stage before the song, and people are stopping me, and I'm limping. I finally get up there, and it was like, and then we do the big note, and then this big final note, and everybody's like, standing O and all that stuff, and as soon as we hit the last note, I had to run back and limp back and go throw up again. So it was that's probably I don't know if that was the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. I don't really have a lot of humility, but that was certainly the most awkward thing.
Yeah. Oh, I feel bad for you. That sounds horrible, man. You must have been so sick.
It is what it is.
What's the best advice you've ever been given, Andrew, and who gave it to you?
Oh, don't believe everything you read. My grandpa told me that. He was my mother's father, who was a preacher for 50 years, and just don't believe everything you read and do your own research.
That's interesting from a guy coming out reading scriptures all the time. Very, very interesting.
There was an entire library in that house of different translations and all that. So
very cool, man.
Yeah. Final
question: what's your definition of happiness?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, man. I think that we could, you could wax philosophical and say it's about, I ascribe to some sort of Epicurean philosophy and finding happiness in all manner and aspects of your life. But I think it's best sufficed by my fiance, who always just says YOLO.
You only live once.
Yeah.
So good for you.
It's kind of the philosophy we live by.
Hey, man, I genuinely really enjoyed talking to you, meeting you. You're a very bright guy, or a very deep thinker, and I appreciate that about you very much, man. So thank you very much for your time and for your candor and all your good stories. And I wish you nothing but the very best. And, I will stay in touch, and I hope you do the same. And man, thank you so much for your time. Anything you want to promote besides Ashley McBryde? I'll be happy to promote that.
Yeah, man, just Ashley's thing, man. We got a record coming out next year, and it's gonna be good. It's very loud, and it'll be. I think it's a good one. So
awesome. And unlike a lot of touring bands that are out there, Ashley McBryde, which you can all find on ASHLEYMCBRYDE.com. Ashley McBryde. I know two of the guys in the band. They're both wonderful, and these guys actually play on the records as well, which is, as you said, a bit of a unicorn.
Yep.
So, man, thank you very much. Everybody try to support and look up Andrew Sovine online. It's Andrew, Sovine. Again, man, thank you. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And thanks again to Andrew Sovine for spending time with us. And everybody, go to EveryoneLovesGuitar.com. Sign up and get notified of future episodes, along with some other cool new things we'll be doing for guitar players. And on that note, be nice. Go play your guitar and have some fun. Till next episode, I'm out. Peace, y'all. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at EveryoneLovesGuitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.